makeup and clothes and purses and belts. It just kind of came naturally, so I went with it. Anyway, I didn't come on here to tell you my life story, and yet I have. Hi, this is Julie, and it just happens to be a gorgeous day down in southern Georgia. Thought today before I hop in the shower, I would shave my face. This is what I use. It's a flawless, which is actually really perfect for what I need. I have more than my share of peach fuzz. I don't know if you can see it. It kind of sticks out with makeup on. I really notice it, probably more than most. I don't think too many people actually notice it as much as I do, but I don't do things for other people. I do things for me. So whatever makes me feel better and attractive, then I will do. So I have my Flawless, and it takes a battery or two, I can't remember. I've had it for about a year and I've never actually had to change the batteries, so it's great. It has this little top that screws off. Oh, I think you see my kitty. That's Boo. Boo is my kitty, and she sits with me a lot, so she may pop in and out of some of my videos. This is the top. I don't know if that's focusing or not. It's like a Norelco kind of thing with the floating head. Everything that it shaves off goes into this little well, which is perfect. It always amazes me just how much comes off. It's almost embarrassing, but what are you gonna do? So we just turn it on, and this is my little 10 times mirror, my 10 magnification. So it's really hard for me to actually see in it unless I'm right on top of it, but because otherwise it gets blurry. But I do like to use it when I'm shaving my face, because then I can really kind of get a better idea of, if I'm getting everything I want to get. Now they say to do it in circles, and that's how I've always done it. Works for me. And I try to be really gentle over my rosacea because, I don't need it to flare up anymore than it already is. I mean, this is how my rosacea is on a daily basis. It's not as red as it used to be, but I have a lot of capillaries that show. That's what my skin really looks like without makeup. I've got my Bite Beauty lip mask on, and I love it because it tastes so yummy, and it has been a godsend for my lips. They get so dry, and it's partly my fault because I chew on my lips. I got the Bite Beauty Agave lip mask for Christmas. It came in 3 little flavors in a tin, and they're all lovely. I put it on every night before I go to bed, and it has made such a difference. I have not had chapped lips at all. I love it, but I'm getting it in my shaver, I think. So I may have to come and do around my lips later. Kind of amazes me how much hair I have around my lips. It's kind of weird. Or maybe it's normal, but you don't notice that stuff on other people. That's the stuff you notice on yourself. But like I said, I do things for me, If you like the way I look, well, that's just swell, but it's not why I do it. Husband could care less. He can't see anyway. I mean, it's kind of one of the joys of growing older. Your eyesight gets worse, and you just, there may be flaws, but you can't see them, and that's just fine. If everybody else can see them, oh well, nothing I can do about that. I used to wonder When I go over to my mom and dad's house, I mean, they're almost 90. My dad will be 90 this year. And of course, their eyesight is much worse than it used to be. And I couldn't understand why they couldn't see dirt on the sink or a light ring in the tub. And now I get it. Now I totally get it. And people are coming over to look at your tub and your sink anyway. Who cares? I got better things to do. Now, you're not supposed to use this for your eyebrows. They have another one that's specifically for eyebrows, and it's probably a little gentler, and it's definitely smaller and more targeted. And someday I may get one of them. You know, I have to watch my spending quite a bit because I am on a fixed income. We just kind of watch our spending, but right now we are trying to save up for some trips. You know, we really both want to travel. He has traveled a lot. He was stationed in Germany for a bunch of years when he was in the Army. So he has been all over. He's really been all over the world. But I have not. I went to Korea. Kind of odd, but I went to South Korea when I was, I think, 23. I worked at an airline, and some of the ladies there were going, and they went a couple times a year, and they would go shopping in Korea because things are so cheap in the street markets. I had a leather jacket made. It was custom made to me, and it was gorgeous and soft, buttery leather. It was like $80, and they made it overnight. I went and got fitted one day, and the next day it was done, and it was amazing. So anyway, they invited me to go, and it was really a neat experience. Now, why was I telling you about that? Oh, because my husband's traveled a lot, yeah. When I worked for the airline, I flew around a lot. My sister lived in Massachusetts at the time, so I went and spent weekends with her a lot. I lived in the Philadelphia area, and I just pretty much took a packed bag every Friday when I went to work. I would hop on a plane, and sometimes I'd go to Indiana and go to the college where I went, see some of my friends. I would go to New York City. One of my roommates and best friends from college lived on Long Island. I flew in and saw her quite a bit, but I didn't get to do as much traveling as I would have liked. I stopped working there when I had my oldest daughter, and I stayed home for the next 14 years. So my first husband, he was not a good traveler to begin with. We didn't really go anywhere and stay, except maybe once a year we'd go down to Rehoboth. We loved Rehoboth, and we went every year, and we'd stop at, what was the name of that pizza place? Most of our vacations were staycations. Things didn't really work out with our marriage at all. Divorce was really ugly, and it was very hard on our kids. And they were very affected by the divorce, and I don't think some of them even realize how much. But it's been hard for one of my kids, and it just breaks my heart. But unfortunately, in a divorce, there's two people, and as much as I tried really hard, and I did, not to talk down their dad, that same philosophy was not going on in his head or in his family's head. And some of the things they told my kids were just plain awful. I tried not to respond in kind. I wanted my girls to have a relationship with their dad, and I wanted them to have a good relationship with him. But it was, it was a divorce, and it was ugly. There was no way around it. I'm sure it contributed to my depression, and when it got really bad and I was suicidal, it definitely contributed to that. It was very hard. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And now when I hear about people getting a divorce, I just want to say to them, be really sure this is what you want. I'm not going to tell you that my life isn't better now. It is. It is much better in some ways. Financially, it's not. He worked in a trade. He got paid well. It was a union job. And I stayed home for 14 years. So even though I had a college degree, when we were divorced, I didn't have work history for the last bunch of years. So it was really hard for me to go out and find a job that would pay me what I needed to raise my 3 kids. And, we ended up in these tiny little apartments. And 3 girls in the big room. They always got the master, which was fine. I didn't care. And I would take the small room, but it was never enough space. I mean, 3 teenage girls in one, small room with bunk beds and an extra bed and dressers and makeup and clothes and purses and belts and everything you can think of. And they weren't happy with the living situation, and I wasn't either, but you do what you gotta do. Anyway, I've really gone off on the beaten path here. So the only trip we've ever taken, we've taken 2, I'm sorry. We took one to Savannah and Tybee Island, which is the beach on the coast of Georgia, which is right outside of Savannah. That was a really great vacation. We went to Disney World. He had never been there. I hadn't been there since I was 22. Boy, a lot's changed. And I've never seen anybody have as much fun as my husband did. And I couldn't seem to explain to him that Disney is for all ages. It was really a lot of fun. We'd love to go back sometime. There's so many other places we'd like to go. And he'd like to take me to Europe and show me, all the things that he saw when he was in the Army. And I would love to. I've got my own personal wish list of where I'd like to go. We'll probably never go to half of them, but my life's just wonderful. We may never have a lot, but my husband is good to me. He cares for me deeply, and he would do anything for me. He's been amazing. I've had more and more trouble getting around. He's very protective of me, but he always makes sure that I'm comfortable, that I have what I need. I don't have to worry that if anything major would happen, like I'd have a stroke or something like that would really disable me for good, mentally and physically, he would take care of me, or he would make sure that somebody did. When I had my back injury and I went through about 3 months of surgeries, and he was very resistant to having someone in our house to help. He thought that I just needed to suck it up. Sucking it up doesn't help when you've got an almost ruptured disc. When the doctor finally got in there to do the surgery, he said it was hanging on by a thread, and I was a good sneeze away from rupturing the disc. And then I ended up having complications after that surgery. So that was when I began to realize that we were going to have problems long term, because I no longer trusted that if anything bad happened to me, that he would take care of me or allow someone else to take care of me. It really caused some problems. My mom would come in, she'd come 2 days a week and help me out, because at the time I had a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I couldn't lift my 1-year-old. My next door neighbor, who was, still one of my very closest friends, she had kids the same age. She would come over in the morning and she would pick up my youngest daughter. She'd get her out of the crib, get her clothes on, take her over to her house, and she'd have her all day. She'd give her breakfast, give her lunch, take care of her, and she and her daughter would play, and she'd get my older daughter off the bus when she came home from kindergarten. She saved my life in so many ways. I could never, ever repay what she did for me. And then she would bring my younger one home in the afternoon so she could nap in her own crib. If all went well, her dad would be home before she'd wake up. But if not, my neighbor would come over and get her. And he didn't want that to happen. He just really believed in his mind that if I would just put my mind to it, I could do it. It was a very unfortunate situation, and it kind of got worse and worse after that. So anyway, I didn't come on here to tell you my life story, and yet I have. I'm going to finish shaving my face now. Hey, I just wanted to finish up by saying, I'm sure there are those of you out there who have been through a tough divorce. I think any divorce is tough, even if it's amicable, but I'm sure there are those of you who have been in more of an abusive situation. And for the longest time, I just refused to think of it as abuse. I would say, well, he doesn't hit me. You know, that's an awfully low bar for your marriage. You know, it's not okay for your husband to scream at you, to yell at you, to call you stupid, tell you you're worthless, tell you that you can't make it without him. That's not okay, and that's not a model for your children. I had 3 daughters, and I did not want them growing up to think that that is what a marriage was like, that that's how a man is supposed to treat a woman. So ultimately I did decide to file for divorce, and I think it was the right thing to do, even though it was not ideal for my kids, and it's caused some real problems with my kids and I, in their lives, in my life, and in our relationships. I had a lot of therapy. I wanted to open this up so that if this resonates with you, if you've had any of these kind of experiences, and you just want to talk about it, leave comments, please. One of the wonderful things about the YouTube community is that in the comments section, we can support each other. I've found it to be such a wonderful gift, which is why I wanted to start my own channel. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'm hoping that you'll subscribe as well. And if you do, make sure you hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button, because if you don't, you won't be notified when I have a new video. I know this was a long one, and it was kind of unexpected. I wasn't really planning to do that today, but it just kind of came naturally, so I went with it. Comment below, like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, you go out and live your beautiful life.